Good morning, everyone, and welcome, welcome. We are family. It's so much fun to have some upbeat music at the beginning of our service. I'm Reverend Christine Dance, and I am honored to serve as the minister here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix. Welcome to our online worship service. In this time when we are physically distant, we believe it is an act of love to worship online and be together in this way. Welcome to our worship. Welcome home. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix strives to be a spiritual community for our time, focused on diverse theological perspectives, radical inclusion, and knowing that issues of justice and equity shape everything we do. With a special awareness for those who have been historically marginalized, we welcome all of every race, class, ethnicity, immigration status, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious background, mental and physical ability, and disability. We welcome you, your whole self, your family of whatever form into our worship as we build a community of caring and courage and hope. We come here this morning in the spirit of abundance for what we have, for what we have preserved, for what we share. We come together this morning with the spirit of tentative optimism, for the sacrament of each vaccine, for the hope that we see at the end of the long tunnel. We come together this morning with the spirit of justice, acknowledging those who are left behind, for those who don't share our privilege and who don't have the luxury of optimism. We come together this morning with the spirit of commitment for this community that sustains us, for our shared values, and for the legacy we are building for the future. We worship together with the spirit of love. I invite you to grab a chalice or a candle from your home as we recite our covenant together, and my wife Karen lights the chalice here in our sanctuary. Join me in our words. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to share our strength in fellowship. Thus do we covenant. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm your worship associate, Amy McClendon. Also with us today, we have our Director of Children's Ministries, Katie Resendez. Our music director, Benji Messer, is away this week, but we are joined musically by our pianist, Mary Coda, and many of our UUCP musical groups. Our Zoom operator today is Bonnie White, along with Glenn Lockwood, and our chat chaplain today is Carrie Lipschitz. Our chat is open. You can chat with everyone or just our panelists. You'll see that our service is also automatically captioned. If you're joining us on a phone or a tablet, you should be seeing the captions right now. And if you're on a computer and would like to see them, you'll need to click the live transcript button at the bottom of your screen and then choose Show Subtitle. As always, we invite you to check in to UUCP on social media this morning with the hashtag UUAnywhere. And now for a few announcements about the life of our community. All of these announcements and more can be found in our weekly online newsletter, Compass. You can sign up for Compass on our website, which is phoenixuu.org. We would also like to remind you that while our community is open, our building is still closed. That means that no one is permitted in the building without explicit permission. We have created a safe space for the schools to minimize contact and to protect the teachers, students, and our staff. If you have any questions, please feel free to call or email our administrator, Stephanie Brydell Vigil. Our friends on the Navajo Nation are looking forward to the spring equinox later this month as a time to re-energize and begin the new season with hope. We would like to help them celebrate the possibilities with another delivery of food, health, and cleaning supplies. They have begun baking bread with the supplies that we provided in our last trip, and now they would like to move forward in their next venture, using the crock pots we sent up to make healthy meals on a reasonable budget. They need supplies to get this underway, so if you would like to help with this March undertaking, the link is in Compass and it's posted in the chat as well. And today is the start of our Stewardship Month. We would love, love, love for you to submit a video talking about your relationship with UUCP. It's a short video. We're just asking you to answer 2 questions. The first is, I came to UUCP because I was looking for, and then you fill in the blank. And the second question is, I stayed at UUCP because I found, and then fill in the blank. Please submit them on Compass. We're looking forward to your contributions. And finally, we are collecting our offering virtually, just like our service. We ask that you be generous in giving to support the mission of our beloved community. This is also the beginning of our Stewardship Month, and you can find all of the stewardship materials online and on our website under the Support tab. There's also a link in the chat. We sincerely hope you will fill out the form this week. I'm going to fill mine out today, and I hope that you'll join me. For all that you give to our congregation, we are so very grateful.
Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Because your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. ¿Dónde vayas yo voy, querida? ¿Dónde vayas yo voy? ¿Dónde vayas yo voy, querida? ¿Dónde vayas yo voy? Porque tu pueblo es mi pueblo, tu pueblo es tu pueblo es mi pueblo, y tu Dios también mío. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. 'Cause your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. You're divine, my divine.
Sorry, excuse me. Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie Resendez, and I'm the Director of Children's Ministry here at UUC Phoenix. Sometimes I worry that the story I'm thinking about, the story that fits perfect for what we want to say on a day, is too cliche. It's an old story. It's been told too many times. We know how it ends, and there's no mystery in it. But the thing is, I think those old stories that we keep telling again and again are important. We keep telling them again and again because they're our stories. They talk about us, and they tell us about who we want to be, who we're trying to be, who we remember being. So today, a story, a very old story you've heard a million times that we've told again and again, but about you and me. You see, I was standing in the kitchen and I had just a great big pot, and it was getting near dinner time. And all I had was that pot. And Miss Belinda walked in and she said, well, whatever we're going to make, you better pour some water in there and get it boiling, because that's our best bet. If nothing else, maybe we can find some pasta. And in walked Cyrene from the playground with a rock in her hand, and she asked if she could wash it. And she washed that rock in our great big 3-basin sink in the kitchen. And she washed it nice and clean. And Cyrene, Miss Belinda, and I all looked at each other, that knowing smile, and plopped the rock right into my gigantic pot. The pot sat on the stove and the flame came up, but we had to go get Ashley because she's the only one who really knows how to start the stove. So she made sure the flame was coming up high and big. The water started bubbling. And in walked Leo. And he said, I've got some potatoes. Maybe we could have mashed potatoes? Cyrene, still at the kitchen sink, washed up those potatoes. We peeled them. We threw them in the pot. Mr. Gary showed up with some carrots. Miss Terry and Miss Donna came, and they had some leftover delicious meatloaf we threw in the oven. And then there was Miss Vicky, who said, I think I have some lettuce. And she ran back home, all the way back home, to bring us lettuce, and found some tomatoes on the way. Miss Amy brought some bread. Rev Christine happened to have onions and garlic and some leeks. Owen showed up, and he had brought a little bit of meat for us to cook on the side. And Colin was with him too. And Colin brought some plain crackers, because some of us don't like to eat all the things. And as we all laughed in the kitchen, putting things in the pot one after another, just accepting what was coming, we sang songs, we talked. Clem walked in and told us exactly how to cut each of the vegetables and which knives to use. And then, one by one, we brought each of the dishes we had created to the Johnson room and laid them on the table. We stood around together, looked at how many of us there were, and knew there were more people coming. But we had enough food. We had enough things. And at the very last minute, Penelope reminded us to take that stone out of the bottom of the pot. And so before everyone ate, we all stood and sang, come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, because we knew there was enough food for everyone. And we knew that everyone was truly welcome. We sang, we said blessings on the meal, and we all lined up to serve ourselves. Christopher and Aiden stood at the end of the line to make sure we each had a napkin. Vivian walked from table to table to make sure no one had to sit alone and was able to have a conversation. And we had a wonderful meal together from that night that just started with empty tummies and too close to dinner time and an empty pot. So a year ago, the world didn't end. We did stop having dinner together on Thursday nights, but the world didn't end. We kept taking care of each other. We kept making sure we had quiet places to pray and to weep when we were on campus together. We kept making sure that lay chaplains could connect with folks in their time of need. We made sure that folks had money for groceries. We kept doing all the things we always did. We made sure that there was space to run around and wiggle. We made sure that our staff was taken care of. Thank you so much. We made sure that people were able to get to worship. All of the things we've always done, we kept doing last year. And in the past 12 months, we've become superheroes. We've always been good at taking care of each other, and we added so much more. We masked up to keep one another safe. We stayed home. We gave up fast food. We babysat via Zoom and watched kids while their parents worked at home and made sure they were okay. We lended out our old laptops that had been collecting dust so people could get online. We made time to make phone calls and check in on one another. We checked in on each other's health and we tended to our own health. And for some of us, taking care of the community meant staying away from the community physically and keeping ourselves safe and healthy. We taught each other how to do curbside pickup with groceries. We taught each other how to Zoom. We also drove across town to pick up nebulizers and oxygen tanks when people were sick. We have taken care of each other. Not one of us said, I have all the potatoes and I'm keeping them in my kitchen. We shared and shared and shared, and we continue to share because we know that soup pot has to be full, because when we say, come whoever you are, we need to make sure that there's food for everyone. And in this past year, we've done that. The world didn't end. Things didn't stop. And we kept being us. And we kept telling the same stories we've told again and again, the stories that tell us who we are and who we want to be and who we can be. Thank you, UUCP. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been an amazing and beautiful year. I also want to remind you that tomorrow is International Women's Day. And in our community, so often we've passed flowers to the women that we see on Sunday mornings, and we aren't able to do that this year. So this year, make sure that you send a gift of love, a thought, a prayer to the women in your life and the women who make our community so strong. Take a deep breath with me. Remember the taste of that soup, the clatter of the Johnson room, and know that the cacophony of too many people talking on Zoom at the same time is also us. So very much us. And as we move into a time of centering, let's listen to a song by one of the many musical groups that bless UUCP, Drum Unity. Remember, you are so very powerful and so very loved.
Thank you, community. And thank you, Katie. I'm still picturing all of us in the community in the Johnson room for community night and soup and picturing everybody and community playing, hitting me in all the feels. It is time when we share the joys and sorrows of our community. Being together, it is good to share and to support each other and to connect for all those reasons Katie said. So please write your joys and sorrows that you want our community to know about. Please put your name at the beginning of the statement. I need to know who it's coming from and making sure I'm saying out loud on camera what you want me to say. If you want it to be private, only to those of us on this side of it, please put the word private in it so that we can hold you in our hearts, but not share it out loud. While you are entering your joys and sorrows, let me mention a few that I know about. I want to let everyone know that Lynn Ellsworth is home from the hospital after 17 days. So there are lots of folks checking on Lynn, and he knows that our love is with him as he is healing. And I want to give a special woot woot because they opened up in Phoenix for 55 and under, and without revealing my wife's age, we are delighted to say that she got her first shot on Thursday. So celebrating every single one of those. And I've decided that the vaccination is as close to a modern sacrament as we've got, where we are worshiping science. We have the moment of receiving, of trust. There is great joy of everybody doing it around. And I've decided that vaccine giving is our pandemic modern sacrament. So let us turn to the joys and sorrows of our congregation. From Laura, spring break vacation. That's fantastic. That's wonderful. Jane Baker, my son is still very sick with mono. The good news is it isn't COVID, but has been sick for 5 weeks. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Jane. That's no fun. From Charlotte, Smoot and I got our second COVID vaccinations yesterday and are only having sore arms, no worse reactions. Linda Dean says, my husband and I have received our first COVID shots. Oh, this is a great one. Dylan Lifshitz has been accepted to the ASU Barrett Honors College. Congratulations, Dylan. So glad to hear that. Congratulations. Kathy Kopak says, got my second Moderna vaccine this past Thursday. Bunny says, I got my first shot and my daughter, a teacher who drove me at 2 a.m., got one too. Woohoo. Carolyn Allenby says, rejoicing that my kids are here from Wisconsin and New York City for this week. Oh, how precious that is. Joan Gale says, loved community, absolutely. Perry and Glenn Lockwood say, joy, Terry and I are volunteering at the Grand Canyon University vaccine pod tomorrow. If the chalice is burning when we finish our shift, we'll get our first vaccines tomorrow evening. What great news. Jay Bastani says, Shoba and I are heading to Denver, Colorado to celebrate her birthday with our grandkids there next Sunday. Birthdays with hugs will be fun again. It's amazing how we've taken we took those things for granted and no more. Each one of these is a celebration. Ed Cernick says, I get my second shot next Tuesday, hooray. Owen Lifshitz says, I turned 12 last week. Happy birthday, Owen, from all of us. Val Wiley joined the second Vaxxers, yay. Brad Chapman says, a joy, I am recovering well from major dental surgery a few days ago. Also, I have an appointment for my first COVID shot tomorrow night. Terrific news. Stephanie, our business administrator, says, joy, since my mom has both shots, she is now spending time with the kids. What a great joy. Jan says, joy, let's all send our best thoughts and energies and UU prayers for a successful surgery on Tuesday for our beloved Dan Coleman. Absolutely. Send lots of UU energy. We love you, Dan. From Debbie and Gabby, joy that we both have our first vaccine scheduled, sorrow for those who are in greater need than either of us, but unable to get it as of yet. Yes, the equity of this, we must note, is not, it is not equitable. And Dale Fisher says, second shot 3 weeks ago and got first haircut in 13 months on Friday. Again, the pleasures. Amanda says, a joy, I'm going to visit my parents at the end of the week because they will be 2 weeks out from their second, and I will be 4 weeks out from mine. Oh, enjoy that, Amanda. Melissa Schwartz says, my lung x-ray was totally clear and I am totally off oxygen. What great news, Melissa. I'm sure you've been waiting so long for that. Thankful for all the support that I received from so many of you. Jojo says, a joy that spring break is in 2 weeks. Hooray. And Joan Meyer says her husband is out of the hospital and recovering. We are so glad. We will be sending Joan a lot of love and energy for that recovery period to you and your husband. And that looks like that's all that we've got. I know that these joys and sorrows are taking a little bit more time in our service because of the vaccines, and I don't care. I am so glad to celebrate every single one of them with you. So I invite you now into a time of meditation and prayer. I invite you to center yourself. Lower your shoulders. Take a breath. Do what you can to be here now in your body, in this place. My special demand, the breathing ball is back. And I want us to do a love meditation. We're going to do love in and love out. So as we inhale, I want you to feel the love of community, the love in this space. Feel it filling you up. And as you exhale, I want you to gather all the love in your heart and send it back out into the world. Our UUCP world, our Phoenix world, our greater world. You can breathe with the ball, or if you find a rhythm that fits you better, and just go along with that. Breathe in love for yourself. Breathe out love for the community. Gather in energy and love into your heart. And send some out into the world. Join me as you're comfortable. Please continue breathing in and out, feeling all the love in all the ways for as long as you can, as much as you need. Amen. Blessed be. Ashe. And while you keep breathing, I've got one more thing, Bonnie. As you are breathing, I have an untraditional poem for you. You can contemplate this while you continue to breathe. This past week, the family of Dr. Seuss made the difficult decision to remove several of his lesser-known books that have problematic racial issues. This is not canceling his words. It's an example of doing the right thing when we know more about what the right thing is. The same is true for our community. Sometimes doing the right thing is difficult. We do it because we know it is the right thing. Therefore, even as more and more of us in this community are getting vaccinated, we will remain closed until the numbers in our greater Phoenix community are down to responsible levels. At this point, we are hoping that that will be the fall of 2021. So in honor of our Stewardship Month, with love and admiration for Dr. Seuss, with gratitude for some words from our chat chaplain today, Carrie Lifshitz, some from modern radical Dan Rather, and a bunch from me, I offer you this poem. I do not like hypocrisy. I do not like it, can't you see? I do not like it in the House. I do not like it when they grouse. I do not like it in the Senate. I do not like it as a tenant. Dr. Seuss books have not been banned. This controversy is completely canned. We are a community. For that, we need our unity. We stay separate for our health, so we shall stay safe by being stealth. All this year we've been online. The coping and adaptations have been sublime. We've changed, we've grown, we show that we care. We have truly shown that we are you anywhere. You can you from a chair, in a chair. You can you from a lair. You can you here or there. You can you anywhere. So as we think about what we've done this year and what lays ahead of us, let us remember the boat that we are all in together as we navigate the sea of life.
El arroyo le canta al río, el río le canta al mar. Y el mar le canta al barco que lejos nos va a llevar.
The stream sings into the river sings into the sea sings into the boat that carries you and me. Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me.
Now the boat we are sailing on was built by many hands.
And the sea is so deep and wide, it touches every side.
The voyage has been long and hard, and yet we're sailing still.
With a song to help us pull together, if we only will.
Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I
Oh, our choir is just so fantastic. Thank you all so much for sharing that. So my parents both celebrated birthdays in late February, and I asked them if they could name one thing from the past year that they wanted to carry forward into their new years ahead. Almost immediately, both of them brought up our weekly family Zooms, which we've kept up every Friday evening since the pandemic started. We've only missed one. It has been such an unexpected benefit for the five of us to connect across 3 states and 3 different time zones. In this time when it can feel like the days are on repeat and it's hard to distinguish one day from the next, I've tried to anchor myself through routines and weekly events to look forward to. My family Zooms are my touchstone for Fridays, and UUCP has only gained more prominence during the pandemic as my touchstone for Sundays. Like my family Zooms, I think I've only missed one Sunday service this past year. From Reverend Christine's sermons that speak straight to my heart, the words that I didn't know I needed to hear, to the videos of our community members singing, making music, and lighting chalices, to the familiar names that pop up in the chat. This time that we spend together on Sundays has brought me so much comfort and a sense of connection. Yes, it's looked different this past year, but it's also brought some unexpected joys, like being on a Zoom call with the other worship associates and Reverend Christine when the election was called for Biden and Harris, and being able to celebrate that moment together. Also having friends and family from all over the country be able to join live when I gave my first sermon last summer. It was a desire for connection that brought me to UUCP over 5 years ago, and it has kept me here ever since. I came here looking for a community of justice-oriented folks who shared my values. And in this year that has turned everything that I know on its head, my connection to UUCP, to many of you individually, and to all of you collectively, has meant more than I can express. It is because of all of you and who we are and what we do while we're together that I give to UUCP. And another unexpected blessing from the pandemic is that we have community members who have moved away and are still a part of our online activities. And we have new people who have found us and are connecting with our message. In fact, we are now an international community. Here is Gene Harvey, one of our community members, sharing his music from his new home in Mexico.
A year ago. I feel like so many thoughts this week recently start with a year ago right now. A year ago this weekend, we went to our last restaurant inside. We went to a festival with tons of people gathering and live music. The events of the following week are ingrained in my brain, probably forever. Similar to other traumatic events where you remember exactly where you were and what you were doing. It seems dramatic to compare it to a 9/11 or the Challenger explosion, but it was such a dramatic change. And after a year with 500,000 Americans dead, maybe it's not such an inappropriate comparison. On Monday of that week, I was speaking with the family of John Waddell, whose memorial service was going to be live here in April. I actually uttered the words, "Oh, I don't know yet if this is a big deal. It may not be worse than the flu." On Tuesday, we had a board meeting. We agreed that we needed to keep a close eye on everything, but as of Tuesday, we were carrying on. On Wednesday, all hell broke loose. By mid-morning, the board and I had decided to have worship that week, but go online the following week. But by the end of the day, we had decided to close the campus entirely and go online that weekend. On Thursday, we notified everyone. We canceled community night. By Saturday, we had a meditation service to practice the technology. And we were live with our first online service that Sunday, a mere 4 days later. What a whirlwind it has been since then. And what abundance we have had. We have had more programming than we did when we were in person. We have had more people experiencing worship than we did when we were in person. We have more money coming in than when we were in person. We have more pastoral care for each other than when we were in person. We have more knowledge about how to connect and how to be radically inclusive than ever, I think, in the history of this congregation. This congregation has struggled together and persevered together and shown grace beyond belief. And while it is a difficult time, in many ways, we have thrived. We have done this despite the fact that our stewardship month was literally cut off midway last year. We have done this despite the fact that many of our members have struggled financially, having their jobs impacted, their health compromised, or their families affected. So we find ourselves a year later, no longer naive and looking forward. At the beginning of this program year, you may remember I said, planning is canceled. Planning is canceled. And then I said, and here's the plan. So planning is still canceled. We don't know so many things. We don't know how soon everyone will have the vaccine or how many people will opt to have it. We don't know whether vaccinated people can transmit the disease yet. We do not know this. We don't know about if and when our children can or will be vaccinated. We don't know when it will be safe to sing again. We don't know when the community positivity level of COVID will go down enough that it will be safe to gather. We hope it will be fall, but we just don't know enough yet. Planning is canceled. Now let's plan. So how are we going to be when we return? The only thing we know for certain is that it will be different. It will be changed forever. We know that we will need to be fully online from here on out. It is the new baseline for accessibility and spreading our vision beyond our physical boundaries. And not just the sermons videotaped like we were doing, but the whole experience and an immersive experience where you're not just watching other people doing it, but you feel part of it. We know that it will be complicated. Many people are appreciating having meetings by Zoom. Many others can't wait to meet in person. There are going to be boundaries and preferences for us to navigate clearly and open-heartedly. We know that we will need technology improvements in our building, online, to be ready for full streaming, for video conferencing and meetings, training, equipment, resource, staff support. And here's the thing, we're not just any faith tradition. We are Unitarian Universalists. I don't say this to be trite, but as we go through all of these decisions, I expect us to hold ourselves to a higher standard. We are the people who notice, and we are the people who lead with love. So that means we are inherently intentional people. So we want to look at how we come back together and make sure that it is totally aligned with our vision. We want to recognize that part of our vision is to be radically inclusive. So we really need to think about what that means and how we incorporate that into our return plans. We want to think about what has been so abundant in this pandemic and how do we translate that into our return. We don't want this good crisis to go to waste. Starting this week, we're actually going to have special breakout rooms in the coffee hour to talk about what it is that we've appreciated during this time and that we want to carry forward so that we can look at this issue of inclusion when we return. We hope that you'll join us and give us your thoughts and your opinions. And we must be willing to look at the issues of justice in this. We must acknowledge that the vaccinations are going to those who have access to computers, who are disproportionately white, and who already have the privileges of staying at home for most part. We must plan with those who are the least of us in mind when we talk about gathering. Our threshold is not who can come back, but who do we want to make sure is back, and thinking about the whole community. The person who is most vulnerable, the person who has the least access, that's our threshold for when we think about gathering. If we think just about ourselves as individuals and don't think about the collective good, that within our congregation and in the wider Phoenix community, and honestly, the country and the world, are we living into our values, or are we just talking about them when it's convenient to us? See, being a Unitarian Universalist isn't always easy. We can't just say, oh, we're going to do something. We really need to be intentional and think about how it fits with our values. In our history and in our UUCP history, we have times that we can look back and see an inflection point, a time that we can say, yeah, we grabbed the opportunity and we made ourselves better. We were bold and courageous, and we dreamed big and creatively. I think we have the opportunity to make this that time. This month, we have sermons about community, about the collective versus the individual, and about the legacy that our forebears brought to this congregation. I'm hoping that these all tie together into a really compelling picture for how this can be the time for us to be a spiritual community for this time. That we can use this as an opportunity to intentionally think about our values and our principles and practice living into them. Practice. This is an opportunity to practice being our best selves. And that we can advocate for others as much as we advocate for ourselves. I want us to look back a year from now, the way that we're looking back to last year, and say again, but in a different way, look what we did. So this leads to the stewardship ask. We can't do this without each and every one of you, every single one of you. Every dollar you donate for the work of this congregation is important. We can't do everything we were doing when we were in person, plus everything that we were doing online, and do it all. We just don't have those resources. We can't. But you can help us so that we find the right balance, and together we can do more. Let me give you a few logistics about the stewardship campaign. We are deeply hoping that we will get 100% participation. This is not because of your money. It is because we need to know that you're there. We need to know that you are still committed to this congregation. We don't see you and hug you each week, and this is a way for you to say, yes, it's me. I am here. This is my community. I care. Through your pledge, you are telling us that. Whether that pledge is $100 or $100,000, you're saying, I'm here. All of the stewardship materials are online this year. For those who are not online, we are mailing materials, but you can do this today, tonight, right now. We're asking you to please help us so we don't have to spend more resources finding you. The link is right there in the chat. It's right at the front of our webpage. It's very easy to find. We are asking for a 3% increase in our budget this year. It's a very small one. We know it's a conservative ask for this because it is the pandemic. Secretly, I hope that you're going to surprise us and give a lot more. We are asking for 3%. That's a total of $639,000 in income from pledges. So it means if you pledge up to $1,000 yearly, we're asking for just $5 a month more. If you're up to $3,000 yearly, you can increase $10 more a month. If you pledge up to $8,000 a year, can you give just $20 more a month? You get the idea here. And we are doing something this year that hopefully will make next year easier for absolutely everyone. We're including a line on the pledge form that says that next year, if we don't hear from you, we will assume that you want to continue your pledge at the same rate. You don't have to, you can change your pledge at any point, up, down, whatever it is. But it means next year that we don't need to chase you down or give phone calls. And I know that you all will appreciate that as well. We are community. We are UU anywhere. Whether we are in the building or in our homes, whether we are in Phoenix or Mexico or New Mexico or New York State, whether we are watching on a phone or a computer or a big screen TV. By the way, it freaks me out a little bit that some of you are watching me on a big screen TV, but I'm working to get over that. We are Unitarian Universalists, and we are practicing being more loving, more intentional, more justice-oriented, more ethical every single day. We are practicing what it is like to live in community, caring for one another, living through covenant. And if this is not a spiritual community for our times, I don't know what is. I think that this congregation has been planting the seeds, getting ready for a time just as this. It's laid a justice foundation for a time just as this. It has developed leaders for a time just as this. It has practiced being a more inclusive community for a time just as this. This congregation exists for times such as these, for nourishments, sustenance, and grounding to help us keep showing up to transform the world and live out our faith. We give to this congregation because we believe that a faith community can be science-based, fact-based, love-based. We give to this congregation because we want a world that looks more like what we are trying to be: inclusive, diverse, multi-generational, creative, loving. We give to this congregation because it has sustained us through this pandemic, strengthening connections, becoming a touchstone in our week, a source for inspiration and comfort. We give to this congregation because we believe in the work it is doing in Phoenix and that this work is worth doing. We give to this congregation because we believe that it is important for our children to learn how to discern their own faith right along with all of us who are doing the same, and to grow up knowing that they are worthy and perfect just how they are. We give to this congregation because many of us have found it to be a refuge from religions that preach hate, exclusion, fear, and oppression. And we're still just so delighted that we exist. We give to this congregation because although we do not believe in inherent sin, We know that we all need reminders for how to be good, kind, and just, because we want a place whose main purpose is helping us to be the kind of humans that we want to be. And we give to this congregation because the music fills our souls, the stories inspire us, the words challenge us, and the people lift us up. We are a community that is thriving, that is creative, that is resilient. We are UU Anywhere. And we thank you for all of your support, for making us the very best that we can be. I love you.
Next time you're found with your chin on the ground, there's a lot to be learned, so look around. Just what makes that silly old ant think he'll move that rubber tree plant? Anyone knows an ant can't move a rubber tree plant, but he's got high hopes, he's got high hopes, he's got high apple pie in the sky. So anytime you're getting low, instead of letting go, just remember that ant. Oops, there goes another rubber tree. Oops, there goes another rubber tree. Oops, there goes another rubber tree plant. When trouble's call and your back's to the wall, there's a lot to be learned. That wall could fall. Once there was a silly old ram, thought he'd punch a hole in a dam. No one could make that ram scram. He kept a-butting that dam 'cause he had high hopes. He had high hopes. He had high apple pie in the sky. Hope so anytime you're feeling bad, instead of feeling sad, just remember that ram. Oops, there goes a billion kilowatt. Oops, there goes a billion kilowatt. Oops, there goes a billion kilowatt dam. So keep your high hopes, keep your high hopes, keep your high apple pie in the sky. Hopes are problems, just a toy balloon. They'll be busting soon, they're just bound to go pop. Oops, there goes another problem. Oops, there goes another problem. Oops, there goes another problem. Ka-plop, ka-plop.
Oh, Carolyn, that was brilliant. That was wonderful. Thank you. Before closing words, we want to invite you to coffee hour after service. We'll have several breakout rooms, new technology, not scary, don't worry. You'll have rooms where you can go and meet with others just to say hi and discuss the service, or there's the children's coffee room, breakout room, and we will also have that special breakout room where we can talk about how to be as inclusive as we can be when we regather. The topic we'll be discussing is what parts of this online experience have been beneficial for you, and what specifically has it given us that we might want to continue. The coffee hour link is posted in the chat and will be in the final slide. Visitors, we do hope that you'll join us. We'd love to just come and chat. You don't have to necessarily talk about the congregation. We're a friendly bunch. And remember to please keep checking on each other. The future is handing us an invitation to intentionally and radically step into a new way of being. May we live into that potential to be more inclusive, to be more justice-centered, to be the community that we've been practicing being, to be the best version of ourselves. For the support that you give to make that happen, of your heart, your involvement, your whole self, and of your treasures. We say thank you. Go in peace. Go in love.